share. And at that time, we realized that if we innovate, we'll be able to increase our market share. And that's how we converted the whole market from tin to plastics, because tin is expensive, much more expensive than plastics. It's plastic is more convenient to use. It's more attractive than tins. So, but we went through a learning curve in launching. So that plastics launch over a period of 5 or 7 years just increased our market share from 15% to 50%. So, and I think that played a very, very important role. And because we were making extra money compared to the other competitors who were packing in tin, we were reinvesting in marketing. And I think that led to us becoming a market leader.
This is Siddharth Alwalia. Welcome to the 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amit Somani, Shripati Acharya and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category creating tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare and education such as MoneyTap, Happy, MFine. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in. Today I have with me Harsh Mariwala, founder of Marico. Sir, you are a legend in this country and entrepreneurs, aspiration to be like you. Uh, would love to, first welcome you on the podcast, uh, and then start by knowing your journey, right? Uh, you came from a very humble background, a traditional business family, and now you have built an institution which will, surpass you. It has built a legacy. So first, thank you so much, sir, and would love to start, by knowing before Marico, what were you doing, your family background.
Okay. So thank you, Siddharth, for inviting me to your podcast, and I'm very happy that for the first time for me. And I believe your platform is doing very well. So congratulations and all the best. Let me start off by talking about myself. I'm just a commerce graduate. I finished my college from Bombay in Sydenham, and at the age of 20, I joined the family business, which comprised of my father and 3 of my uncles. And the office was located in the heart of commodity markets in Masjid Bandar. And there were no professionals. It was a typically family managed organization. And we were all staying in one same house at Haji Ali. And so it was a large joint family where my father, 3 of my uncles, my grandfather, and then all the children. So it was like a huge joint family. And we used to discuss a lot of, the business used to get discussed at home a lot also. So that was really my, shall I say, initiation into business, because, when the business topics gets discussed and when you're present, then you at least hear, you may not be able to add value, but the fact that the business is being discussed at home, I think that's how I started getting some good understanding of business. And I was thrown into the company by my father without any guidance and without any direction. So I started exploring different parts of business. We had a chemicals business, we had a spice extracts business, we also had a edible oil business. And the edible oil business was mainly selling unbranded to other industries in large barrels and big 15-liter tins, which was again being retailed by the trade in small containers, which were brought by the consumers in loose, And we also used to supply a lot of oil in tankers, coconut oil in tankers, to a company in East. And they used to pack it in small packs. The name of the brand is Shalimar, which is mainly East-centric. So that's how, in my exploration for 1 year, I did visit all the factories. I visited the markets of all the businesses. And then I realized that if I am able to convert the business of edible oils, loose unbranded edible oils, to branded, the business will be far more sustainable, will be far more profitable. And that's how I began the journey of distribution network expansion, brand building. So that was my starting point. But there were a lot of odds I was fighting at that time. Odds about being located in Masjid Bandar, odds about not having any professional in the organization. So I had to take on those challenges from a very, very early stage, and we were not able to attract talent, and especially for a branded consumer goods company, talent plays a very important role. Talent like the sales talent or the brand talent, because you recruit from the good FMCG companies, so one had to recruit and make some suboptimal decisions because the quality of talent one was not able to recruit. I started working with individual consultants, and I would meet them in the evening, over the weekends, at night also many times. And that's how I started learning the business, the ropes of the business on my own. But since then, it has been a continuous journey. I think in my entire career, almost 40, 50 years, I don't think I have seen any year where the sales have fallen or the profits have fallen. So it's been a very interesting journey, very exciting, very challenging. And over a period of time, the company has changed completely from what it was to what it is today. At that time, it was Bombay Oil Industries. And then at some stage in the early 90s, I was able to convince the family that the consumer products business needs a separate kind of a culture, identity. So please allow me to take this business in a different company. And that's how Marico was formed the year 1990. And to me, that was the biggest decision in my life. If I had not been able to convince my family, I would have been struggling looking at the family dynamics. By then, 4 or 5 of my cousins had joined business. There were conflicts in terms of allocation of resources, in terms of image building, the location of the office, dual reporting, multiple people in the company. So this was a big move, and I was the only person from the family who was involved in Marico, and that also at the top. So that has given me, to me, looking back, that has been the biggest decision in my life. And then, if you want, I can talk post Marico, which is a long story, but I leave it to you what you want me to talk about. Yeah.
So what age were you at that
So
point?
I joined business in the year when I was 20.
And
Okay.
when,
I
and
passed
when,
out of school in 16, out of college at 20. So at 20, I joined. I wanted to study further, but my father didn't allow me to go abroad. I was not that bright in studies to get admission to the management schools in India, like IIM Bangalore, not IIM Bangalore, IIM Calcutta, IIM Ahmedabad, and Bajaj School of Management. These are the three main schools of management at that point of time in the early 70s. Yeah.
and sir, you were roughly then 35 years of age when you started Marico.
It happened 1990. No, I was a 40.
It must have been really tough because
I was 39 years to be exact. Yeah. Yeah.
must have been really tough to convince a traditional family to let go of a part of their business, and you are obviously withholding all your shares in that business to them and asking them to separate.
No, it was not a financial separation. It was just a management separation.
Okay.
So it was just a financial separation, a management separation, wherein the company got divided into 3, 4 different subsidiaries, and each of my cousins took over one part of the business. But in terms of ownership, it was all together only the same percentage, that is 25% each, considering the fact that my father had 3 brothers. So totally 4 brothers. So I also had a 25% shareholding in Marico when I started.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you were able to keep the management with a single focus, with a single family member in each of those separate entities, the business.
Yeah, I think that was the thinking that, I think when you have multiple family members, I'm not saying that model will not succeed, but there are complications because, the ambition levels are different, the way of thinking is different, and the relationships are very complex. You're related at one stage, you are also managing together, you're also owner together. So separating all this, especially in interfunctional or intergenerational issues, adds to complexity, and there is lack of openness because of respect and things like that. So we said that if you really have to operate on a merit basis, then it's better that only one family member is there in each business, and that also at the top. So that was the thinking while going into Marico, and only me in Marico at that time.
So I would say you reinvented how family businesses function. Uh,
I don't know whether to call it reinvention, but I was able to come out of a difficult situation in a large family. And how do you build consensus is a big challenge, because I could have uh, fought with them, but that would have gone on forever. So it was through a consensus building process. It took 2, 3 years for me to convince them, but looking back, it was fully worth it because it's been the most important decision in my life. If I had not been able to navigate to Marico, I would have still been struggling looking at all the issues which I talked about earlier about talent, image building, allocation of resources, dual reporting, and things like that.
So, sir, from 19 years of, operating in the traditional family business,
Yeah, yeah.
what are the things that you learned that you brought into Marico?
So a lot. I not only looked at the consumer products, but in different times in that 19 year, I was looking at the chemical side also, some part of spice extracts also. So I think how to run a business is the largest learning. And how do you, because I built up the whole organization professionally. So how do you build a culture? How do you recruit professional? At that time, I didn't have any other functional knowledge. So my initial years were spent a lot in terms of improving my functional knowledge, whether it's marketing or distribution or product development or manufacturing or quality assurance, all the functions. Or so I think all that happened through a network of individual consultants, and then over a period of time we were able to recruit some good talent. So I learned a lot from our own team or professionals. So I think it was a very good ground for me in terms of learning. And in that phase also I developed a leadership style which still goes on till today. And that got converted, and then I converted those leadership issues and values in Marico, in building a Marico culture, which was based on my earlier learnings in Bombay Oil, which was more to do with openness, participation, trust building, innovation. So I think all those things I learned in the first 19 years.
And sir, if you can share the journey post 90s from the day you started Marico, uh,
So
people
it's
mention
that to me just
trust.
opened up a lot of, shall I say, my frustrations. All of a sudden I was a free man and I could do what I wanted to do. So my first step was to recruit very good quality talent. My first recruit was head of HR because I thought that if I have to recruit good talent from good companies, I have to have a very good HR professional, because no amount of me saying that it's a professionally managed company will cut ice with the professionals. And if I have with me a head of HR who will talk with me to the other professionals, he will be able to convince them to join. So with him, I recruited a top talent as well as senior talent within a period of a year or so, about 30 of them joining me. So all of a sudden, I had a complete new team. And I think that also was good at an individual level. Everybody was very capable, but at a collective level, it was chaotic because each one came from a different set of backgrounds, beliefs, values in terms of how do you deal with people, how do you deal with products, and it was quite chaotic. For a non-performer, somebody would say we should give them a chance. Somebody would say we should train them. Somebody would say we should get rid of them. So I had to define the way to operate just to bring in some sort of unity, some sort of uniformity in terms of how the whole team is working and how Marico should function. So that's how our value journey began. I started writing down a lot of notes, shared with my team, got their inputs, and then went down one level lower. Again, exposed these values to them, got their inputs. So at the end of all the deliberations, we had a value document, which was not my document, but our document, because they were involved. And I think that taught me that the involvement brings in commitment, and you have to involve people in some key organizational issues if you want to get the commitment. And in culture building, the top has to send the right signals. If I say something and if I do something contrary to what I'm saying, then people down the line will start making fun of me. I didn't want that to happen. So the whole team was all completely bought into the values, and they started exhibiting the values and culture from day one. And I think that played a very important role in creating strong culture, which was designed for Marico, for a consumer product company, a culture which was very open, participative, trusting, empowering, which was built on merits, and most importantly, which was innovative. So for innovation to happen, you need diverse set of people, you need a flat structure, you need empowering, you have to remove fear of failure, and you have to encourage people to experiment. And I think all that played a very, very important role in attracting talent, retaining talent, and driving innovation and growth. And since then, we have we have grown well. Basically, we expanded from Parachute, coconut oil, Saffola, refined curd oil to a whole range of products, hair oils, healthy foods, and many other products. And we also went from India to international. We went from private to public. So the whole, it was earlier family managed, we turned to professional. Earlier it was commodity kind of brands, then we became FMCG brands. Earlier the value add was low, then the value add was high. Our margins were lower earlier, now they're much higher. First we were India, now it's international. So we have progressed on each of those parameters in terms of shifting, and now we are, we are rated in terms of our valuations, the way the capital market treats us is on par with any other FMCG company. So I think we've come a long way, but we went through our own set of learnings. When we went public, also it was perceived to be a commodity company where because of commodity pricing, you may not be able to protect your margins. But we had to show it to the market that you can depend on us because we have very strong brands. And if you look at our brands in almost all our branded products, and 100% of our turnover is through branded, we are market leaders in that particular segment. So market leadership gives us pricing power, is able to help us protect margins. So again, go back to what is the portfolio choice and how we've chosen where to operate in, and how do you create a right to win by pioneering initiatives and by innovation and on a perpetual basis. And then back it up with very good talent, build a strong culture. And the third thing I want to talk about is governance. I think governance has played a very, very important role in my journey. From day one, I've ensured that whatever we do is above board. We don't do any hanky-panky. We don't evade any taxes. We fully compliant on legal issues. So no shortcuts. And I think that again sets a very good example to professionals that this is a very clean company. And not only to professionals, but to also other stakeholders, whether it is new employees you are recruiting or whether it's a board of directors or the society. So it's something one has to build, and one has to do that from day one rather than saying that I will look at governance from when I become big. Because if you don't tackle those issues, the culture of the organization will not change when you grow. So it's very important to start sowing those seeds of good governance when you're small.
So how did you think about brand building? Because you come from a different background, but your vision was to build several brands, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
one brand.
yeah.
So what were the first principles thinking, if you can go back to?
So I'm not a technical person. I'm very poor. So I was very clear that I'm not going to be in a business which is going to where I'm not good at. I have to leverage my strengths. So one had to, and I'm also not very good in B2B kind of interactions. I don't like to go and sell something to somebody. I'm not a smooth talker and things like that. So I had to be in a business which involved mass, where I don't have to sell it to my customers. And just it happened by chance. I never knew what I was going to do once I passed out of my college. I never had any clue. But this initial forays into coconut oil and refined safflower oil just strengthened my hands, and I realized that I really like this kind of work, this kind of business, and I am good at it also. So it just fitted in. It's not preconceived notion that I have to go. I didn't have any vision or anything like that. And then the vision evolves. And then when you succeed in one or two things, you say, okay, I want to do a few more things. Okay, there are failures. I've had multiple failures, but every failure has had learning opportunities, and we have tried to improve. And in FMCG, globally, 1 or 2 out of 10 launches succeed. So I was prepared for that. And, whether it is because of lack of consumer insight or lack of competitive, we thought we could beat some competition in some areas. So I think net, I'm saying that we made mistakes. We learned from failures. And I think our portfolio of products has grown. We've gone both growth as well as through organic means, as well as we've acquired brands in India as well as outside India.
And so what were the first seeds, if you remember, that made Parachute and Saffola the household names that they are current today?
So it has evolved over a period of from a 0% market share in Parachute, we became a market leader, 50% plus. And the first phase was our quality was very good, I must say, and that is something which I must credit my family, that they were producing very good coconut oil. So that acted as some sort of a cutting edge in the marketplace as far as the competition is concerned. So the first set of, uh, you may call it success, or first taste of success happened because of distribution network and because of good quality. And then we did all that, but again, we were stuck at a certain market share. And at that time, we realized that if we innovate, we'll be able to increase our market share. And that's how we converted the whole market from tin to plastics, because tin is expensive, much more expensive than plastics. It's plastic is more convenient to use. It's more attractive than tins. So, but we went through a huge learning curve in launching. So that plastics launch over a period of 5 or 7 years just increased our market share from 15% to 50%. So, and I think that played a very, very important role. And we were, because we were making extra money compared to the other competitors who were packing in tin, we were reinvesting in marketing. And I think that led to us becoming a market leader.
And so, over a period of time, you have, increased your philanthropic activities, both as an individual and an organization.
Hmm.
And you always stress on the need to give back. Can you
Yes.
share more philosophy of yours on that and the
Yeah.
bit of action?
So we call it, the company side is known as CSR, which is commonly known, which is corporate social responsibility, which comprise of three different legs of initiatives we take. One is the Marico Innovation Foundation, with the objective is to fuel innovation within India by doing a variety of initiatives, whether it's innovation awards, innovative books, innovation courses, helping innovative organizations scale up, having hackathons and things like that. So there is that part which still reports to me. Then there is agriculture part. We buy a lot of copra, curdy, and we have agri extension wing. And the whole objective is to improve farmers' productivity. And that gets done mainly in the southern states of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka. And it's growing extremely well. We've been able to, by just better cropping practices, the farmer productivity has increased by 15%. And if you convert that into rupees, and annualized farmers in these states are earning 200 crores extra every year because of the help we've given them. We also buy directly from them. Earlier, they were supplying to traders. So a whole host of initiatives in improving agri productivity is another one. And third one is in education. Some of our brands support education. So we look at Girl Child. We also have podcasts to make Girl Child learn, and not only Girl Child, all the children learn English. So I think these are the three pillars of our corporate social responsibility. And I strongly believe that apart from corporate, at a personal level, one has to do something. So there are two initiatives I have. One is Ascent, ASCENT, which is there for last many years now, and about 8-9 years. And we are working with a lot of entrepreneurs. We have 800 entrepreneurs today, and they join us without any cost. It's funded by me, and they learn from each other. And also, there are many events Ascent organizes. These are hurdles. There are webinars, sessions. If during normal times, we have a conclave every year where we invite the best of speakers, and then we also have other programs for them, power up programs, where we've tied up with consultants, retired officials who help these entrepreneurs in their own set of issues, and then they also learn from each other through what we call trust groups. So that's growing quite well. And now with the pandemic, we have opened it to all India. Earlier, it was just Bombay, then went to Chennai. And if any of your listeners are interested in joining Ascent, I would strongly suggest that have a look at Ascent, www.ascentfoundation.in. And you can look at it. There are some conditions to join in terms of size and scale. And then there'll be some interview just to ensure that we allow the right person to come in. But whoever is selected, we have had a very good feedback on Ascent. And finally, on giving side, I also have an initiative in the area of mental health. For the last 6 years, we've been doing work, and we are the largest funders to other mental health organizations in the country. We are, as of now, today, we are supporting 26 organizations in the area of mental health. In Bombay, we are supporting iCall, which is a line to help individuals if they call up or if they send an email. It's completely free of cost, and it's manned by a 20-member team where they would be in touch with the person who would call up and give them guidance in terms of mitigating stress, anxiety, depression, and things like that. So mainly, I would say that these are the two critical personal initiatives, and we call it PSR, which is personal social responsibility, just like CSR, which is a corporate social responsibility. And I personally spend a lot of time on both Ascent, Mariwala Health Initiative, which is the mental health part, as well as the Innovation Foundation.
And sir, have you been actively involved in the Indian startup ecosystem? Uh,
So no, we have an investment office which my son runs, and I think anyone wants, and I get a lot of requests from individuals. It need not be startup; it could be um, somebody who was at a much more mature stage for mentoring. So, and I like mentoring entrepreneurs. Even our SL members also many times. So, on average, I have one or two mentoring sessions every month, depending on what is the challenge. But beyond that, I mean, I know people from Indian Angels, and which is the other one I forget. But I think I've spoken at many events like that. But otherwise, I'm not actively involved in the startup system.
and so, do you think now the ability to build a brand, a consumer brand, has eased over the years since the time you started?
So the situation changed dramatically. Yeah, earlier there were many entry barriers. Entry barriers because of distribution. You needed all India distribution network, which is very expensive to maintain. You need a certain critical mass. You need sales staff to visit all the retailers. You need distributors. You don't need all that. You can just do it through e-commerce. Earlier, you needed big advertising because you have to advertise on television, press. Again, you needed budget of 10, 20, 30 crores, to launch a product. Now you can do digital marketing. So the entry barriers have reduced dramatically if you want to market it through what is known as D2C route, direct to consumer. I think that has seen the emergence of many newer players in personal products and foods. Many new brands have emerged in the last 2 years because of the entry barriers going away. And I think it's fantastic. We are seeing more and more innovations coming in from youngsters, from new entrepreneurs. So whether it is whoever it is, Mama Earth, we acquired a D2C brand, Beardo, about 2 years back. So it's a very good development where you're seeing a lot of youngsters who have good ideas to tap these opportunities.
And so, if I can ask, since you started Marico,
Yeah, yeah.
what have been your levers of growth as an individual? Because your business kept on changing and delivering profits. As you mentioned, it never went up or loss in a year,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it also meant that you had to grow as a leader. The challenge was on your shoulders also.
yeah. So I think to me, leaders' role changes. When you are very small in the initial stage, I was doing everything. I was briefing the advertising agency. I was approving the ads. Then once you reach a certain stage, you recruit marketing heads, and then you allow them to operate. So from doing things, your role shifts to getting things done. And at that time, you need to have the right balance. If you have recruited good talent, if you have good talent, then you have to delegate and empower them. You can't say that I will be involved in everything because I was doing it past. So the role changes from doing things to getting things done. And that is a completely different role wherein, you have to ensure that you have good talent, they speak to each other, there's enough team building in that thing, there are systems, process to evaluate. So that was the second phase. And then when you become much larger, then, your role shifts to influencing others, by talking, by giving lectures and things like so. I think that role shift for any entrepreneur is very, very important. And you have to reinvent yourself every few years. What you were doing in the past, you can't go on doing it all the time, because if you do that, you'll not have the time to expand. So you have to free yourself. And that's how you start new businesses. We started Kaya Skin Clinics. Once I stepped down from the managing directorship of Marico, I've started another business in terms of aquacentric. And then we have an investment office. I spend a lot of time in giving initiatives. So I think you have to reinvent. And I think reinvention also brings a new set of skills. It gives you new experiences and new learning. So I think that's been uh, that's how I moved on over a period of time.
And how do because now is you have a complete professional management at Marico. How do
Yes.
you hire leaders who are much better than you, but
So that has
aligned with?
always been my this thing, that they have to be better than me. Then only my ability to delegate will be higher. So, and that means that you have to create a strong employee value proposition. You have to be valued in the job market. The war for talent is much most entrepreneurs don't realize the war for talent. To me, if they tackle the war for talent and able to attract talent, then their job will be much easier. So from day one, we've been trying to improve the image of the organization. If you look at whoever has stayed with us and gone out, we treat them as ambassadors. Because they can spread the word around about Marico. If you're looking for a job in Marico, and if you know one of our colleagues who was with us earlier, you'll check with him how was your experience in Marico. And if you hear good things, then you'll be more open to join us. So I think you have to treat your ex-employees also as ambassadors, and they can improve the image and also do the right thing where you get written about whatever the culture you built or the strong governance you have or the freedom you give individuals to operate in. So you have to attract good talent, and once you are able to improve the quality of talent, and it has to be done perpetually. Every year you have to improve your quality talent because the business is getting complex. Earlier you didn't have any other digital initiative. Now you're digital. So I think you need to continuously evolve and improve your talent and create a culture where that talent will thrive.
And the second question is, right, retaining that leadership,
Yes.
the key people.
So it's a big challenge, even for good organizations. There's negative is that it becomes a poaching ground. If I build a good image for Marico, saying that I have good talent, people are diverse, versatile, they can do a variety of jobs, then to that extent, somebody else wants to poach from us. But at the same time, we are able to recruit good talent. So you need to have good succession pipeline. And the other way, one is the most important thing, the culture and the role of what is the challenge available in the job and how the boss is supporting the subordinate. So I think these things play important roles. Financially, of course, you have to ensure that they're not underpaid, and you have to create, especially at senior level, you have to create some wealth, creating opportunities through ESOPs and all the companies doing well. Then I think they would also benefit through the wealth creation options.
So traditionally, from even from the first advertisement, the TV advertisement we have seen for Saffola as well as for Parachute, right?
Mm-hmm.
The every ad was centered around the family, right?
Yeah,
Uh, each family member caring about each other.
yeah, yeah.
So would like to know from you, right? Where did this thought process come from? Is it your closeness to the family?
No. Actually, it's ultimately in marketing a product, you have to see where the product is going to be used. So both the products we want the family to be used and not one individual. So clearly it has to be targeted towards family. If you're using an edible oil, then the family eats in the edible oil. So you have to, it's not a product. So most of Parachute and Saffola are bought for the family. It is not brought for an individual. For example, you may have a shampoo where some individual may like one set of shampoo, somebody else will like some other brand of shampoo. In this case, we were very clear that the whole family should be using. And if the family uses, then you will not have multiple brands in the family. So I think from that point of view, we wanted to make it for family only. But some products it is for male, like we have a male grooming product like Setway. I can't I can't market that for family. It is mainly for youth and young people who are looking more grooming issues, whether it is the gel or it is the wax. This is only relevant for young youth. So I have to market it to them. There I can't talk of family.
So, over the last 5 years, since you have been, distanced yourself and given over the reins to professional management, do you feel the longing to go back because it's been your child?
That's the most tempting part for most entrepreneurs, that they want to go back. But no, clearly, I don't want to go back. I don't think I'll ever go back because of two reasons. One is, I think now the environment has changed. You need much more younger kind of a input from young managers. Number two, I chose a successor who's done well. So, I can't go and get back into issues. So I think my job is to ensure that on a perpetual basis, I can create a succession pipeline for future and not go back to what I was doing.
So, the mentors, as a mentor, the entrepreneurs you guide and advise, right? What are the basic principles that you learned that you tell them, and what are the things that have changed that you said, you have to evolve over what I learned over the last 20 years?
So I go back to then the same thing which I talked about earlier. Create a right to win. That's a highly competitive environment, and if you are a Me Too product, then your ability to succeed in the marketplace is is not there. And the right to win will differ depending on the kind of business you are in. If you're in service oriented business, service, the kind of service you're providing, unique service it could be, or if you're in a technology business, the patent you have in a pharma business will act as an edge for you to succeed. But you have to be differentiated, or you can pioneer a new segment which others have not been there. For example, vaccines, Bharat Biotech or Kadila, they have come out with their own set of vaccines and they pioneered. So I think the key thing is to identify, do you have a right to win, and how strong is your right to win, and you have to maintain that right to win on a perpetual basis, because others will copy, and then back it up with very good talent and culture, and then governance. And I go on these three principles of right to win, creating a differentiation, talent, culture, and governance play a very important role in any entrepreneurial journey. And most importantly, the role of entrepreneur, which again I talked about, that the entrepreneur cannot be wedded to doing things what he did when he started the business. It has to shift. If he doesn't shift, he or she doesn't shift, then the business will not grow. There is a limit to which you can handle size, and your role shifts then, and unless you are able to recruit good talent and delegate that, it'll be very difficult for you to manage everything in the business.
So, what has been your source of learning? Do you read books? Do you interact with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think multiple. One is definitely I read a lot of books. I read on average one book a month. I also interact a lot with thought leaders. And I also written a book which is going to get published in end July. The name of the book is Harsh Realities. It is published by Penguin Random House. And I have a co-author in Professor Ramcharan, who is again a management guru. And I know him well. I worked with a lot of individual consultants. So I interact a lot with thought leaders. And that's how you get ideas. I read a lot. I do a lot of internet searches. Um, so I think that's my source of learning. I listen to a lot of podcasts in the morning when I go for a walk. I am listening to something or the other. Today morning I was listening to some podcast on PNG and innovation, and how they revived the innovation engine in PNG. So I think you have to go on being open, absorb for what's happening internationally, even trends. Visiting, I visited US about a few years back, 3 years back, just to look at what are the new emerging brands are doing, what is unique thing they're doing, whether it's vegan or whether it is sustainable issue or Allbirds, which I talked about, the shoes. These are all emerging brands. It's a matter of time they will all come to India. So you have to keep your eyes, ears open through various ways of doing, through reading, interacting, as well as visiting and observing.
And so how do you at the same time unlearn? I think that's the skill which which is not talked about.
Yeah, you need to shed things. You can't. I don't know how to describe, but it is something which you have to realize that, okay, this is something now of the past, and I can't hold on to something which was relevant in the past, but it's no more relevant today. So I think it's a judgment. I don't have a process, or I don't have a way to tell your viewers to how to unlearn, but it's something which is a judgment. You can say that, okay, now this is something behind you, and now look at something else which is more relevant.
Thank you so much, sir. We are looking
Thank you,
forward.
Siddharth. Thank you, Siddharth, and wish you all the very best. I'm happy to be with you, and wish all the viewers all the best. And if they want to join Ascent, most welcome. Please look at the website and apply. And please, if you like what you heard, then please buy my book by the end of the month. Thank you.
Yes, we'll definitely post the link in the to the book,
Right.
in the podcast, so that listeners can see more details of your journey, go through in depth, right, on your journey, the principles that you share of building a legendary company.
Thank you. Thank you, Siddharth, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.